Okay, avoid meeting him. So then I open the door and go out. I don't meet you. So these things occur very quick. These three components. So that's when we analyze the attitudes, then it occurs very quick when we say like or dislike something, but actually inside us it occurs like this. And the next thing is that the consistencies between our attitudes and behavior. So we heading to, let's say, we try to have what we call consistency between our attitude now and our attitude later, or our attitudes and our behavior. Okay, so we try to have a consistency between what? Between here we say attitudes now, attitudes now, and attitude later. Between our attitude now and our attitude later. Or between our attitudes and behavior and our behavior. Okay, so if we have a gap, we have, let's say, we have kind of inconsistency between our attitude now and our attitude later, or between our attitudes and our behavior, then we have kind of conflict inside us. It's very, very bad. So all the time we try to find way to make our attitudes and behavior in a consistent way. So the cognitive dissonant theory, the cognitive dissonant theory help us to the cognitive dissonant theory help us to understand that sometimes we have a gap between our attitudes and our attitudes and behavior. So we have to find way to, let's say, fulfill the gap. If what we think and what we behave differently, so then we feel very bad. We conflict inside. Or now you say you like somebody, and just a minute later you show dislike. So how can we live with people show different attitudes? So then we have to search for the consistency. Try to find out way to behave in a consistent way. So it's about the attitudes and the consistencies of our attitudes. Now we talk about the dissonant reductions. So if we have kind of dissonant is mean inconsistency. If we have inconsistency between our attitudes or between our attitudes and behavior, then it's very difficult to live. Now we get stressed, and we make people feel uncomfortable with us. Okay, so how to reduce dissonance? How to reduce dissonance or inconsistency? So we will look at three things. The first thing is the importance of the elements. Okay, we look at the importance of the element. The next one is the degree of the influence. Degree of the influence. And we look at the rewards. Okay, we use these three aspects to help us to reduce the dissonance, okay, the inconsistent. For example, okay, we see something else very important, then we let's say show different attitude. For example, now I ask you to help me to do the presentation in front of the class. You say, no sir, but I say this is very important course, and if you don't do anything, so you cannot learn things, you cannot learn. So presentation is something very important to learn the knowledge, okay, so that you turn and say, yes, I will do it for you, I will do it with you, yeah. But you just say, yeah, you don't do it, you cannot do it. But as I explain, I see, and I make you understand the importance of doing things with me, yeah. And then you jump in and say yes. You just say no, and now you understand the importance of doing things with me. Then you jump in and say yes. You just say, hey, you don't like it, but now you do it. You volunteer to do it. You see, but you don't feel you feel comfortable. Yeah, you don't feel something bad at all because yeah, this is important to do. So why not? Okay. The next thing is the degree of the influence. So the influence of the thing that influence to your life or to your job, etc. Then it makes you to accept the difference between attitudes and attitudes, or the attitudes and behavior. Or you may look at the reward. Yeah. Come back to the example I just said. For example, you just say, no, I cannot do anything. But I say, hey, if you volunteer to do it, I give you 100 marks. Yeah, you just say, no, but who volunteer? Yes, you raise your hand and volunteer because you just say no, and then a second later you say yes. This is conflict, this is inconsistency, right? But you feel okay with that because you receive big reward. So you see, in order to reduce the gap, reduce the inconsistency between our attitudes and behavior, we need to use this thing, okay, to reduce the dissonance or the inconsistency. But remember, there are some moderators between attitudes and behavior. As we just say, attitudes can predict the behavior, nah? But actually it depends on this moderator of attitudes and behavior. So there are 5 moderators. Actually, there are many, but researchers have found these 5 main moderators. The first one is importance of the attitudes. Importance of the attitudes. Okay, so the moderators mean we have something like X here that predict Y, for example. So the moderator is something, this one. Oh, okay, moderator. So the effect of X on Y depends on this one. So if the attitudes you show it as very important, and then it comes to this one very, very seriously, nah? It means you will do it, definitely you do it, but the important is low, maybe you don't do it. You know, so this one affect, the effect of X on this one weak. Now, the second one, the second moderator is specificity. It's okay, it's specificity. So something very concrete, very specific. Okay, you know, not general. It mean not general. Okay. For example, if I go to the class like this, big number, and I say something in general, and I don't mention who. You don't know I mention who in the group. But when I point it to you as somebody, nah, very specific. What I mean is you. Then it affects to the behavior. Nah, it affects as a behavior. For example, if I say, yeah, I hate lying. So and when I say it in a general group like this, but when I point to you and say, yeah, you are a liar, I hate you. And then you see how his or her attitude toward me. She will stand up and say, no, I don't do this and that. He will defend, you see. But if I say it in general, then she sit down and just listening, nothing happened. But if something become more specific, and then the attitudes to the behavior will different, okay? The next thing, the third moderator is accessibility. Accessibility. So something you already have in your mind, in your head. For example, you already experienced something and it is in your head. So now you face it, and then the attitude may go to the behavior immediately. For example, I already have the information about let's say people fighting. So then my attitude is that okay, I hate fighting. So then when I see somebody doing like this together, so my behavior is that avoid it. I will not jump in, avoid it immediately. Because in my head, the information can be accessed immediately, very, very quick. So it affected this relationship. Okay, the next thing is social pressure. Social pressure. This is interesting. Social pressure. There are so many pressure on us. So, for example, family have pressure on us. Team pressure. Okay, friend pressure, etc. So, for example, you say you hate cigarettes, right? But why you try to become the manager of the tobacco company? You see the conflict? You see the conflict? Because the social pressure, here your family, your children, your